You can always go to the website at adventurealaskaradio.com. Adventurealaskaradio.com. And that Mick Matters interview was awesome. Dina and Scott are inspiring, and I just really, really find them to be fascinating people. The whole McDonald's Corporation, this is what people don't often realize either, is that they're individually owned. Very often, I think the corporation owns some of the franchises, but by and large, it's a franchise opportunity. So what they're really protesting against are the people like Scott and Dina that have worked their fingers to the bone to get where they are today, and then saying, you owe me more, you owe me double. If you want to make twice as much, please, in a moment, listen to my friend Jim Rohn, posthumously, of course, coming to this program. It's a shame. That was one of the things that I had written down years and years ago, that I really wanted to meet Jim Rohn. And I met Les Brown, had an opportunity to see Zig Ziglar, another great motivating kind of guy, and just barely missed out on that. And then he passed away. But Jim Rohn lives on in memory and spirit. And shouldn't we all hope to make that big of impact on the world, that people are talking about us in 50 years or 100 years. There's no state lottery. You can enter your opinion here, 299-7653. Would you support Alaska forming a state lottery, yes or no, to the lotto in Alaska? One person said, either way, I'm not going to play it, so do what you want to do. Apparently, he's not a gambler. Blackwater Bend Espresso, I want to send 2 of you home free with coffee cards here. These are coffee cards, not just a cup of coffee at Blackwater Bend. It's a whole coffee card on the house, and all you need to do is dial right now. Text me, 299-7653. Text 299-7653. Is Alaska minimum wage of $7.75 higher or lower than the federal minimum? Now, the secret to success in business. I'm writing something more extensive than what I'm about to share with you, but essentially this is the crux of it. We could put it in a nutshell. The secret to success in any business anywhere, and busting through the misconception of how you succeed in business, can be summed up right here. Give more in use value than you take in cash value, or that you accept in cash value is another way to say it. So you provide more use value than you take in cash value. So let's just say that you go to Aurora, Texas. You have your taxes prepared by Kathy and her elite team at Aurora, Texas, in Anchor Point. And it costs you, I'm going to pick a random number, $200 to prepare. And they save you by virtue of understanding the law and the tax code, which barely anybody can understand unless you're like Kathy, a complete numbers guru and genius. And they save you $1,000. They've taken $200 in actual cash value in exchange for $1,000 in real use value to you. That's a fair exchange, and that is the secret of success, is to provide more than you take. The conventional wisdom often says today that, well, you have to cheat somebody to get ahead, or you've got to be greedy to make it in business. I'm not sneaky enough to make it in business, or, I'm too honest to be a salesperson. What a bunch of hogwash. That is nowhere even close to what success actually is. There are people like Charles Ponzi, named, obviously the Ponzi scheme named after Charles Ponzi, who did everything he could to get something for nothing. He didn't intend to start out that way. He actually read his biography. It was actually a fascinating tale of him coming from Italy to America with nothing, starting something, seeing the other people making investment opportunities, and he thought, hey, I found a shortcut. Well, what he actually found was himself alone, bloated, and dying with nobody to visit him many, many years later, after he cheated thousands and thousands of people, swindled thousands and thousands of people out of millions of dollars. But we've got time to play this, I believe. It's about a minute and a half of Jim Rohn. And if you learn nothing else from this program ever, and you can absorb what Jim's about to tell you, you're going to be miles and money ahead.
Even with a modest income, if you have a good economic plan, you can be financially independent by 35, 40 if you're slow. Even with a modest income. And I didn't know that. So I'm going along doing the best I can, trying to pay my bills, feed my family, right? Keep my head above water and keep going. Then I discovered a simple little phrase that changed my life forever. Let me give it to you. Maybe it'll change your life as well. Your income is primarily determined by your philosophy. Now, at age 25, I would have sworn to you that my income was determined by the economy. My mentor said, Mr. Rohn, you've been working 6 years. How are you doing? I said, not very well. He said, I suggest you not do that anymore. Surely you wouldn't want to do it another 6 years. I said, no, sir. He said, how come you're not doing well? I said, well, this is all they pay. And I showed him my paycheck. He said, no, that's not true. This is all they pay you. I thought, well, that's a different way to look at it. He said, aren't some in the company making 5 times this amount? I said, well, yes. He said, well, then this isn't all they pay. But this is all you get because this is all you qualify for. I then started understanding that, first of all, my paycheck was going to be determined by my philosophy.
Okay, now contrast that to this.
It's hard to find another job. This is why I'm still stuck at Burger King for the past 4 years. If it was easy to find another job, I wouldn't be out here right now fighting for $15 an hour and a union.
You should be inside working and earning, not outside fighting. I just don't know how else to summarize this. I'm seeing a lot of people say all over the internet, and one way to avoid it is, of course, not to go to the internet. But it's the facts. Chicago Tribune this morning. Remaining silent is not an option because it's nearly impossible to survive on $7.25 an hour, said Kareem Starks, a McDonald's worker in Brooklyn, referring to the federal minimum wage. Oops, I just gave away the Blackwater Bend trivia contest answer. Organizers said as many as 500 workers turned out for the New York rally. 725, remaining silent is not an option. And that's why I'm sitting here talking to you about this. And I know I'm preaching to the choir, but I'm hoping to inspire. I'm hoping that in this conversation, you come away and you say, you know what, I'm going to tell somebody about this. I'm going to talk about this. Send somebody, if you know somebody that is in alignment with this kind of thinking that is such that somebody owes you something. Somebody owes you a job. Somebody owes. It's what I say. I've said on Radio Realty for 5, coming up on 6 years now. You do not have the right to a home. You have the right to home ownership. You do not have the right to a job. You are free to work. You're also free to choose not to work. And I should be free to choose to pay you based on your merit, based on your education, based on your skills and your qualifications. Somebody who has 5 years of carpentry experience is worth more to a contractor than somebody who's never seen or used a skill saw. Am I right? Why should they be able to go in and dictate and demand exactly how much you pay them, even if it means your profitability suffers? I used the P word, profit. When did profit become a dirty word? Michael Warburton is a Homer, Alaska businessman. I quoted him or played his clip from the Homer City Council meeting last week. I'm going to play it on the other side of the news again and dovetail that into this conversation of what people think about business owners and what people think about businessmen and businesses and profit and where money comes from and where it goes and who's owed what. It's important because your city council here in Homer, yeah, they thought they were going to get away without anything this week. I don't think so. We got an article in last week's Homer Tribune. I want to read that article to you and get into some real detail about what your local government, wherever you are, insert your name of your town here, what your local government, what your borough or county or state or federal government can do to get out of your way. It's as simple as that. If I could get a tattoo anywhere on my body, it would be that on my forehead, get out of our way, and I would present my forehead to each and every bureaucrat, elected, unelected official that I could possibly get in front of and say, you need to get out of the people's way. We've got the evidence to show that that's exactly what leads to success. We'll talk about that. Josh Garvey with Homer Voice for Business will be here in the second half of the program. We'll answer the Blackwater Bend Espresso Mind Vendor question. I've got some news. We have an Anchor River Inn update. We've also got, going to talk about Stand Your Ground. That goes into effect in September. Stand your ground laws. I'm happy about that here in Alaska, and I wonder what about you. Okay, don't go anywhere. This is what my mom calls the greatest show on earth. I'm Christopher Story, your host for Great Adventures in the Last Frontier. You're listening to Alaska Matters. I'm Christopher Story, your host for Great Adventures in the Last Frontier. David Webb is your engineer, and Josh Garvey is on the phone with me. We'll be back to Josh in a moment. He is working steadily and steadfast on a new group, a new organization here in town called the Homer voice for business. Mike Dye, you heard Mike last week on the program. Josh is here today to fill in some details about how many members there are and sort of what was the what was the zenith of the group and where is it going and so forth. Just a short conversation with Josh there. He's a busy guy, so we'll get with him. But I wanted to say and bring to your attention, if you haven't already seen it, it's a point of view in the Homer Tribune. And I alluded to this last Tuesday on this very program, that there was a whole host of things that the City Council, the Homer City Council, could and should do that would make living here in this great last frontier more affordable. And it occurred to me, and especially as I was just listening to the news and I heard the president talking about if we're going to have any corporate tax relief, then it's got to go into securing, middle class jobs and this and that. It's like, best thing you could possibly do, Mr. President, with all due respect, is get out of our way. Get out of the way of companies. Get out of the way of businessmen and employees and the people that go read Ayn Rand. That's all you need to do. Go read Atlas Shrugged, my friend, and you're going to be just fine. You'll understand that the world will keep on spinning if we get to keep more of our money. So it's called A Few Do's But Mostly Don'ts for the Homer City Council by Chris Story. It's in the Homer Tribune. You can check it out at homertribune.com or pick up a copy yourself. You're going to want to frame it. Do what we did. We framed it. We put it up in a prominent place in our home. But what it's referring to is Councilman David Lewis at the close of Tuesday, and it's actually Monday night's meeting. I don't know what I was thinking when I wrote this, but it's Monday night city council meeting of last week, said that it's expensive to live in Homer and you just need to have a good job to live here. Sorry, but that's the way it is. Council isn't going to be able to do anything to make it better or easier. It's just the way it is. Live with it. My response is wrong. The Homer City Council and all government entities can and should do as much as possible to get out of people's way and make a community more affordable. Make it a more affordable place to live. That's the recipe for successful small government, big government. We don't want big government. When I say big government, I mean like federal government. We want smaller. It's our money. It's ours to keep. We've earned it. You shouldn't feel ashamed that you want to keep more of what you've earned. I had this conversation with City Manager Walt Reedy during the non-prepared foods tax, the very first time that it came up in, 09, 10, whatever it was. And I said, Walt, it's my opinion you're not going to see a shrinkage of actual dollars in the community. You're going to see those otherwise collected tax dollars redistributed and spent within the community by the people that earned them. They're going to keep more of their money and they're going to reinvest it elsewhere. Anyway, back to my article. Get out of our way. Reduce planning staff by half. Do you realize at some point in Homer's history there was just one planner, then two employees in the planning department? Now you have 4 running around making mayhem for businesses, saying this sign doesn't fit, collecting signs. Oh, this sign's out of compliance, and yarding it off and taking it back to City Hall and holding it ransom until the owner and proprietor of the business will come in and collect it and pay their fine. Oh, man, that's not where I want to live. No thanks. That needs to be cut down right now. Repeal the Bridge Creek Watershed Protection District Ordinance. And let me tell you why. That was a brainchild of then Commissioner Bill Smith, now Assemblyman Bill Smith, and he is, of course, the father of the Anadromous Streams 2011-12 ordinance. So he has a very long and stalwart history in reducing your private property rights in the name of something that sounds too good to oppose. You'll recall he didn't single-handedly, but was spearheading the Fred Meyers, the 20,000 square foot moratorium on any business, any building restrictions, 20,000 square foot moratorium. We got to stop them right now. Repeal the Bridge Creek Watershed Protection District. And this is why. 25% minimum. If we're going to impose this kind of restriction on somebody, number one, we need to prove that they actually slope towards the Bridge Creek. Number two, we need to say, okay, we're going to give you some reasonable amount of property. I wanted to build a modest home, a driveway that was circular because it was a corner lot, and a nice detached garage. And I wasn't going to be able to do it within the restrictions right now at 4.2%. Who came up with that? That's magical, mystical. That's like just, it worked in Tahoe, or it worked in Carmel, or it worked somewhere else, and we're going to apply it here. We need to take the yoke off of the people. Do you know how many jobs have been killed as a result of the Bridge Creek Watershed Protection District ordinance? It's into the thousands and thousands of dollars every single year we're losing as tax dollars, revenues, and improvements and other goods and services that could otherwise be sold. There's a whole list of things here. In fact, it caught the attention of a producer of the Glenn Beagle program in Anchorage on KBYR. It's 700 a.m. And they liked this article such they asked me to be a guest on the program. And I was last week and went through, didn't go through every single point here, but made a big enough or a good enough case, I guess, that Glenn then asked me later to actually guest host his program. So I'll be the guest host for 3 hours in Anchorage this coming Friday. So anybody in the Anchorage vicinity or elsewhere, you'll want to tune into that, 6 to 9 a.m. But the point is, few do's, mostly don'ts. Homer City Council, listen up. And I'd ask you right now to please help me welcome Josh Garvey with Homer Voice for Business, and we'll listen up to you. Josh, what's the current number of businesses that are participating in Homer Voice for Business? How many have joined up so far?
Oh, wow, Chris. Well, we started out with only about 7 a few weeks ago, but it quickly doubled to about 15, and I believe at last count, earlier today it was at 43, but I've had actually 5 more businesses call since I got to work and want to join, so somewhere close to 50 now.
That's fantastic. And what if you could capsulize it in a nutshell, what is the mission, or what is it? What is the essence of this group, Homer Voice for Business?
Well, Chris, this is really a grassroots movement. It's really sprung out of a growing amount of public discontentment with our city government and lack of representation for businesses here in Homer. The Homer Voice for Business is a business advocacy organization, and it's a concerted group of business leaders. They're working together to have a positive impact on our community. The group's comprised of individuals that are really passionate about our community, that have lived here a long time and really care about our neighbors. Our goal is to achieve a sustainable balance in our economy, which is currently, like you said, headed in the wrong direction under the current city leadership. The Homer Voice for Business is an advocate for our community and its businesses.
I like that. I like the advocacy part of this. And in the Homer News, Michael Armstrong wrote a piece, and he said, opening line, frustrated by what they see as anti-business attitude on the Homer City Council, a group of about 20 business. Anyway, he goes on, and I would say we need to, and this is me personally alliterating here, that I would need to add management. And I think that it's council, but, when you're faced constantly with we know better, whether it's in management or it's in the city council, as a business owner, I said this last week, Josh, it hurts not just the pocketbook, but it hurts the heart, because as well as I do, being in business and part of a small business, how much work and energy and time, sweat, and toil goes into producing the dollars that we do, producing the jobs and the tax revenue, and to be slapped in the face and just basically shoved to the side. And then when you need a little bit more, we come back to you and go, hey, we're going to wring it out of you, and you just get it from your customers, right? You just keep going back to your customers. They'll pay more.
Yeah,
At some point, they won't.
We totally agree with you. The small businesses really form the economic building blocks of our community, and most of the businesses here in Homer especially are just small private citizens or families trying to make a modest living and get by. There's really been an excessive burden placed on the backs of businesses in our community for a long time, and we not only feel completely unsupported by our city government, but furthermore we feel that they're actively impeding us by placing unrealistic obstacles and barriers in front of us. They're threatening our economic development and welfare of our community. And what you said about government and management is right on. Government agencies like our city perform critical functions. They don't often know how to contract, though, when it's necessary. And unless business owners get involved, business owners with actual experience managing budgets and cutting costs, then the government gets lost. And a lot of us feel that the root problem is the ever-rising cost of big government and the fact that they're not being held accountable for their actions and the decisions they're making. And the groundswell of support that the Homer Voice for Business is receiving proves that the direction of our local government is just way off track. People are calling in to lend their support and joining us by the bunches, so it's really exciting.
That's great. I'm anxious and excited to see that. I think there's an exciting election opportunity coming up here. By the way, August 1st is the opening period for the filing for the Homer City Council. There'll be two seats coming up there. So you got from August 1 to August 15. All right, Josh Garvey, Homer Voice for Business. Anybody that's got a question about the organization or how to join or anything of that nature, what's the best way to contact somebody at the organization?
I would just give them out my cell number for right now. The cell number is 907-299-4577. That's 4577. And we do have our next meeting coming up on August 1st here at 7 o'clock p.m. For anybody that's interested in attending, just give me a ring and I'll give you an agenda and the details for that.
All right. Thank you so much, Josh Garvey. Appreciate what you're doing on behalf of everybody in the community, including business owners.
Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome. And it is nice to be thanked once in a while, isn't it? A little bit of gratitude. I've said that before when I go to remodel a building or do a project or one of my clients does. Wouldn't it be nice if the city government just stopped by and said, you know what? Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate what you've done, what you're doing. You're appreciated. Do you know how far that would go? It would go a long, long ways, but that's not the case right now. You get slapped upside the head and told what not to do every single day. Don't go anywhere. We've got lots more to come here on Alaska Matters. Stand Your Ground law takes effect in September. Will this law cause you to kill people? You think more people are going to get injured as a result of it? Will you ignore the option to retreat? Currently, you had, whether you know it or not, you have a duty to retreat. And there are a couple of exceptions. Obviously, your home is your castle. Your workplace, that extends out to your workplace or in defense of a child. I had an experience, and I shared it with you once before. Whether you remember it or not, I don't know. But it was very eerie. It was a frightening experience in a lot of respects. But I was shocked at how calm, cool, and collected I remained, simply for the fact that I had my sidearm with me. I removed it from my bag, instructed my family to get into the vehicle and lock the doors. I was not able, by the time this guy's rushing, I'm not able to get around the car, hope that I can get in, close the back end, hope that I can get in and join them and retreat. But I had a duty to do that, and I didn't. I stood my ground, pulled out my gun, held it at my side, and that ended the dispute. And people have asked, well, were you prepared to shoot him? Damn right I was. Absolutely. I'm going to defend myself in any way necessary and defend my family rather than huddle up in the car and maybe I drop the keys outside. I don't know. I mean, this guy's rushing us. So I did what I needed to do. Well, now in September, I'll have the right to do that. And I'm excited about it. I mean, this is the wrong way to put it. I'm excited about what this means for individualism and freedom. I'm not excited about the prospect of needing to be in that situation. Pray that never you or I are in that situation. It's just the castle doctrine will extend to wherever you are. And I think that's a good thing. I really do. I really think that's a good thing. SB 21 was a referendum on, there will be a referendum on SB 21 in 2014 on the ballot. Now, the oil tax bill was signed on the last day. It was actually passed by the legislature on the last day of the legislative session. The proponents say, you know, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. I mean, we're getting 37%? I forget what the exact number is they say that we're getting, and it's way more than Jay Hammond wanted, et cetera, et cetera. I spoke with Senator Peter Micciche after his back and forth with an upset person here in Homer on the 4th of July parade. Hey, I told him, I said, you're welcome to come on this program and also our Radio Realty program, our sister program on Wednesdays. Feel free. Sell the bill to me. Sell it to our listeners. Sell it to you. What's good about this? Why is SB 21 a good thing for Alaskans? And of course, he's gone dark. I suspect that if the mood arises, he'll call in and maybe we'll take it. I don't know. I just think that he and his cohorts have done a lousy job of selling this to the Alaskan people, to you. Why did they gain 37 or 36, whatever it was 32,000, or it was like 1,000 or 1,500 signatures more than required within 90 days. I'll tell you why. Because they didn't tell you why this was good. And they're still not. And I afforded and availed this program to Peter. He decided this, well, there. That's what I think. I mean, I'm not arrogant such that I want, you better be on my program. But I'm saying I don't understand it. People I'm talking to don't understand it. People are shouting you down and you're shouting back at them in a 4th of July parade. Why not let you and I have a conversation about it? Let's find out from you. And maybe he's everywhere else telling the tale, but I'm not hearing it. I'm not reading about it. All I'm hearing is the negative side of it. So you want to sell us on it? Let's talk about it. Do you know it's Arnold Schwarzenegger's birthday? Governor of California, 66 years old. Happy birthday to Arnold. It's the only reason I did that. I don't care about his birthday. I think you guys sort of a louse. Well, yeah, I like his movies, but I don't like what he did to his family. I thought that was, it's just like he's one of the most egotistical people. And I thought he was, I don't know. I just didn't like that. Bedbug cases rise in Kodiak. What's going on the rock? Bedbugs have returned to Alaska, and they're a growing problem in Kodiak, along with other parts of the state. Robert B.J. Johnson, the island's only licensed pest control agent expert, tells the Kodiak Daily Mirror bedbugs started showing up locally about 5 years ago. This year, they're worse than ever, and showing up in homes. Not even in hotels. They're showing up in homes. We've got a question that I put out on Facebook and Alaska Matters last week. I want to play a song that leads up to that because I think it'll just enhance the experience for you. So I'm going to play that. But first, let me just tell you, this portion of the program brought to you by Anchor River Inn, your family headquarters for gifts, groceries, family-style cooking and lodging in downtown, luxurious Anchor Point. And, of course, the awesome Anchor River Camp, anchorriverin.com. anchorriverin.com. Make memories this year with your family at the Anchor River Inn. Anchor Point, is a place where you can still be you. Tiffany and I were out there over the weekend, as I said, and that's where she picked up her, am I supposed to, I don't think I can talk about it, but she picked up a Bender blender on our way out. And we spent some time at the Pacific Park. Pacific Park is a subdivision. It's so peaceful. You have to go out there. You have to check it out. Pacific Park is just north of Anchor Point. They actually have, this is a little bit self-serving because I have a couple of properties listed for sale, which is why we were out there. We were putting up some signs, making sure everything looked all tuned up and was good. And you've got this great little storage building, which has actually the makings of a big little cottage. And you've got these pasture-like lands with beautiful spruce trees and a distant view of the mountains. It's peaceful. It's beautiful. Tiff and I were just in this little private spot and thought, there's no one here to tell me what I can and can't do. And believe it or not, this subdivision is developed as such, though, that you would think everybody was on the same page. Nice homes, beautiful landscape. It's nice. It's proof that you can be free and still do the right thing without some code enforcement person crawling up your business, telling you what to do and what not to. Oh, man. Peaceful at Pacific Park. Check it out. You can check it out on our website, soldonhomer.com. Yeah, I think you're right, Dave. Let's take a break. When we come back, I'll answer the Blackwater Bend Mind Bender question. We'll talk about the lottery in Alaska, and I'll share with you some of the responses to our Facebook question from last week here on Alaska Matters. Hey, did you know it's Henry Ford's birthday? Yeah, the guy that revolutionized the way we make stuff. Not a hero. He was a little misguided politically at times, but you can't deny that he understood how to improve the lives of the ordinary person. Paid his workers, by the way, a fortune, $5 a day. And when he announced that was more than double of what anybody else was paying. When he announced that, he had such a line of people that it took days and days and days to interview, and he could cull through and pick the best. How unfair that he used merit by which to measure somebody's ability to do the job. And without compulsion from the United States government, he paid them a massively high wage. Phew. Innovation brought the price of a car down to the ordinary person as well. So he increased people's living standards on both ends of that spectrum. Thank you, Henry Ford, born this day in 1863 in Dearborn Township, Michigan. Two heads and one heart. Started a controversy, and I didn't mean to. I really did not mean this. I didn't even think about the biblical doctrine of this question, perhaps. Two heads, one heart. So San Antonio Zoo's got a turtle with two heads. And I think it's kind of interesting. The turtle's named Thelma and Louise, which I think is funny. That's actually pretty classic. But the question of the day on my Facebook page for Alaska Matters today was, by the way, friend me and I'll friend you back. That'll be fun. The question you may be asking is how many souls? So, right, two heads, one heart, two heads, one body, one heart, one everything. They don't have like conjoined twins that would have, two hearts and this and that. It's just one animal with two heads. So two minds, two personalities, two people, essentially, if you were to think of it as a person. Well, people didn't think of it as a person. There was such a little bit of a debate as to whether or not an animal actually has a soul versus a spirit, etc. But that was my point, was whether you call it a spirit or a soul, is there two of them? Or is it just one? So is it in the body? Or is it in the head? Is it in the awareness? What is it? I don't know. I thought that was really interesting. I thought it was fascinating, actually. I also thought this was a fascinating question. What would you tell your 18-year-old self today? if you could go back in time, what would you tell yourself if you were 18? So for that, I accompany it with Alice Cooper, 18. That's just good music right there. Yeah. Angie Talent says, run, run. Frankie said, never take anything personally. You're not crazy. You're just surrounded by jerks. No, come on, Frankie. Abe says, buy Microsoft. Jerry says, get your head out of, get serious. Jim says, remember Yahoo, Google, and Apple. Buy them. Lori says, go after your dreams. I like that. Ralph says, always unhitch the horse team before putting them in the pasture. Good advice. Always pay as you go, says Tammy. Chris Story said, when assigned, actually read Atlas Shrugged. So when you're actually assigned to read it, read Atlas Shrugged, dummy. I'm talking to myself. My friend Valerie from New York City said, hey, Chris, great question. Another one would be, what advice would you give your 80-year-old self? So what would your 40 or 45 or 55, 65, what would you give your 80-year-old self as far as advice? It's a good question. See the fun you're missing when you're not my friend on Facebook? Facebook. Just go there, find me, friend me. It'll be a lot of fun. We'll have a good time together. There's no state lottery. It looked like about half of you said that go for it. Let's do a state lottery. And let's see, our winners. Oh, it always gets down to this congested frame of time. Less than 30 seconds. Let me just tell you this. I'm going to text you back if you're a winner, so you'll know you're a winner. All of you are winners. $7.75 is actually 50 cents higher than the federal minimum wage. Alaska pays more than the federal minimum wage. I hope nobody listening to this will ever protest for more money. Go out there and earn it. See you tomorrow on Radio Realty. Have a great day.